Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live, right in the middle of Holy Week on Wednesday. And I just confirmed with my best and most important theological source, today used to be called Spy Wednesday. And then before I could get him, I tried to do a little research, and I see the reason is in the gospel for today, they talk about Judas, ratting on him. I don't know. Judas, the way Judas has been presented, and I go along with this, he's a really sort of sad. Nobody really gets angry at Judas. They just feel sad for him, right? I remember in one movie, it ends up with the last thing you see of Judas, there's a big, like Roman arch in Jerusalem, dark, and there's a guy hanging from a tree, and that's Judas. And it's so sad. You say, that jerk off, what'd you do that for? 34 pieces of silver for your eternal soul. I could have made a better deal than that. Well, this has been quite a day, I think, because for me, it's a day that really symbolizes the eternal and ongoing war beyond the wars on earth, but the war that's been going on from the beginning between good and evil. Because the behavior and the instincts of some of what's going on in this country are truly evil. And I know you're probably going to think I'm way out doing this, but it's not unexpected to me. If you've read Marx, and you'll see that Marx invokes Satan a lot in how to bring about communism and how to bring him in as a exemplar for the ordinary person to give up God. The rejection of God among Marxists or among Stalinist Marxists is all over ego, and we're smarter than that. There can't be a God because there's nobody smarter than us. There can't be a God because they're using it to subject us because they think we're stupid. There can't be a God because we can figure out all of the eternal beginnings and ends of human wisdom. Now, when you consider that Marx himself was very well educated biblically, a lot of that rings of Satan, right? Of his epic battle with God over his wanting to possess the ultimate truth, or even Adam and Eve, the tree of knowledge. That facade, or that fake goal of wanting to feel that you are the smartest person, even smarter than God, is an enormous human weakness at the highest level. And I think that's why we have so much atheism in this country. You look at I always think of the editorial boards, the New York Times and the Washington Post, and all the Ivy League jackasses, and who I have thought of Ivy League jackasses for 40 years. You're probably just catching up with it. They're too smart to have to believe in God. If I tell them, last night I prayed to God for help today, what a weakling. What a stupid jackass Giuliani is. He's not as smart as we are. We don't need God. There's a lot of that to this. So you look at what Caroline Levitt sort of orchestrated as the news of the day. One of the most brilliant jobs I've seen by a White House press secretary, and did the situation of Chris Van Hollen getting up this morning and going through the extraordinary act of going to El Salvador to try to bring back a MS-13 murderer to the United States. It sort of illustrated that, didn't it? It's hard to understand, and I don't imagine questioning Van Hollen would help, because I'm not sure. First of all, I'm not sure he'd tell you the truth, and number two, I don't know if he would know the truth. He doesn't seem like a terribly reflective man. He seems like a typical polished over, cleaned up politician, Democrat politician, where all the play people came in and made him into a plaything, little play doll. But let's listen to him explain what he did. I think we have that video, don't we, Ted? Right at the very beginning there.
This one,
him talking about, talking about how he's gonna save them.
We'll play this one, and we have more clips coming out.
Yeah, but I want to play whatever one you want to play to show how interested he is to bring the murderer back.
En route into the city, looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. And I do want to thank our Foreign Service officers and the whole team at this embassy and embassies around the world for all the.
So that is typical political bullshit. What you just heard is like every political jackass bullshit artist says that stuff. So I look at that guy and I say, gee, I wonder who did his hair this morning and polished his fingers, and I wonder who the big money is to him. And I wonder how much money he has in a bank account, even though he's just a congressman, because now I find out they're all millionaires. But go ahead. Let's play a little more of this Whitehead.
Everything possible to bring him home, and we're going to keep working at this until we're successful. I also hope to have the chance to meet with him, but we'll have a better idea if that works out a little later on.
To take a wounded soldier back, right, who lost his leg fighting for America, and he wants to get to know what this brave hero is like. First of all, the guy's more likely than not to spit in his freaking eye. Right. He's an animal. That's what he is. He was arrested when he came into, well, we'll get that later from Caroline, but the guy's a thorough out-and-out murderer and killer. It's hard to understand this, because when you listen to the guy without doing a deep cognitive analysis, he sounds like a relatively intelligent guy, right? He wants to meet with the guy. Would you like to meet with an MS-13 leader? Yeah, I would, to put him in jail. I used to have to do that. I loved it, meeting with them. Used to look in their eyes and say, this last time you're going to see sunlight. Goodbye.
Right.
It'd be the best part of justice would be the guy just attacking the senator when he was in there visiting him.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
The guy might be a straight out guy. I just say, get the out of here, bullshit artist.
Well, I was going to say, even the guy who's, imagine being this guy, not a great guy, but he's sitting there in some prison.
Well, these guys like it there too,
Yeah.
It's a bit, they kind of were brought up. Trendaragua and MS-13 are both prison gangs.
How does
it's like you thought the mafia was really upset when I put them in jail.
Yeah.
Half the time they used to love it. You don't have to deal with your wife, you don't have to deal with the kids.
Imagine this guy sitting in this prison, and there's rumors, hey, I hear someone's coming down to bust you out. Someone's coming down to bust you out. And he's sitting there thinking, oh, who's coming down here? Some tough guy. Someone's going to come break me out.
It might be,
Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Well, it's not impossible that it would make him a really big hero in the prison if he told him to go F himself.
Or attacked him.
Yeah, what if he just slapped him?
He said, I want to meet with you. Get out of here, you phony bastard.
Yeah.
And the whole prison would make him like the
Sure,
hero
sure.
of the prison. That could make his whole month.
But by the way, the senator isn't being upfront with us. He was apparently denied. Oh, maybe he says this in his longer video. There's a 12-minute video. He was denied his request to meet with Mr. Garcia. And it turns out American lawmakers don't have the power to meet with a foreign citizen in a foreign country. Go figure.
Yeah, I don't think he's one of Berkeley's favorites. This guy doesn't seem like a Berkeley guy. He seems more like a
That's
goody two shoes. Keep my powder dry. And
let's see. Here's some more of Chris.
And family that I would try to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia while I was here.
Why?
So I asked the vice president if I could meet with Mr.
He didn't meet with
Abrego
the president because Bukele wouldn't meet with him.
And he said, well, you need to make earlier provisions to go visit CCOT. I said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he was not able to make that happen. He said he needed a little more time. I asked him if I came back next week, whether I'd be able to see Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he couldn't promise that either. So I asked him if I could get on the phone, either video phone or just a phone, and talk to Mr. Abrego Garcia. So I could just ask him how he's doing so I could report back to his family. He said he could not arrange that.
Yeah, is this real?
He said maybe if the American embassy were to ask, maybe that could happen. So I will certainly ask the American embassy to ask the government of El Salvador to connect us by phone. I asked him how about his family? How can he talk to his wife so that she can hear his voice? I let him know that the family has requested that. He said he was not sure whether he could make that happen. So we have an unjust situation here.
You do.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I shouldn't be laughing, but is this an SNL skit?
You know,
What the
unfortunately,
hell?
the reporters were at a loss. They should have said, he's a senator or a congressman.
Senator, go figure.
Oh, my God. Senator, is this the same wife he beat the shit out of or a different one?
Right.
Because it is quite common that these women have like this Stockholm syndrome, and they want to talk to the men who beat them up. You know, he used to beat the shit out of her.
But this guy, I mean,
if they do show him to, are you willing to look at all the things he has on his body that prove that he's a member of MS-13?
I bet he probably wants to look at his body.
What?
He probably wants to look at his body.
Yeah, he
wants to
probably
get a
does.
good tour of CCOT.
Piece of crap. Piece of crap.
But what a weak! Thank God these guys are so weak. I mean, he goes down there. He's standing there with all these cameras.
And
They won't let me in. He's like complaining, like this is like a customer service hotline.
And I tell you what, remember
Bizarre.
when we had the press conference when I came out of being photographed and fingerprinted the day before I did it for Trump? Trump did it.
Yeah, remember those cameras?
Remember how they were attacking me?
Yeah.
It's like they just treated him like I didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Do you remember? Yes. But you handled that with a grab. I mean, they're all over.
I got indicted by a DA that's going to jail now. Hey, it looks like Fatso Fogarty's going to jail too.
Yeah. But by the way, so I'm trying to find some.
We'll get to that. We'll get to Fatso Fogarty later.
Right.
So this is totally absurd. So listen to Caroline. Listen to Caroline explain this. It's too eloquent, too well done. I used to present criminal records all the time. This is about as good as, gosh, I could have ever done.
So this is Caroline Levitt's response.
Yeah, it'll just give you an idea who this guy is. He's trying to get out of jail. This moron, complete nitwit.
Completely. So Caroline Levitt, just a few hours today.
If you ever hear Chris Van Hollen, just say
Democrats and the media in this room
Finish your
have
thought,
continually and wrongly labeled.
Finish your thought.
I was going to say, if you ever hear the word Chris Van Hollen, just say nitwit, idiot, go home and I don't know, make children's toys or something. You're just a moron.
Alien MS-13 terrorist. The Democrats and the media in this room have continually and wrongly labeled Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a Maryland father. There is no Maryland father. Let me reiterate. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country. And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Abrego Garcia was also arrested with 2 other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang. And 2 separate judges found that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, and that finding has never been disputed. And just this morning, it was revealed through Maryland court documents that Abrego Garcia's wife petitioned for an order of protection against him for 2 instances of domestic violence in May of 2021.
Wow. Quite the rap sheet, Mayor.
Yeah, I mean,
This is in. Sorry.
wants to bring him back to Maryland, to all his nice people in Maryland.
Well,
And you want this guy? You vote for this guy as a senator?
has he said one thing about Rachel Morin? Has he referred to her once? I think we can prove this on Twitter. I'm going to try and do it now. I don't think he's talked about this guy 10 times.
Why don't we give Rachel Morin's mom her chance to explain the enormity of this horrible thing that Van Hollen has done?
That's right. So this is Rachel Morin's mom here. We want to get the this is the ending here. We're trying to find the ending where she's literally pleading with the members of the press to cover this stuff a little bit more fair.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Tell how violent it really is. This is about protecting our children. It's more than just politics or votes or just anything. It's about national security, protecting Americans, protecting our children. Thank you. And thank you for listening. Please tell the truth.
She's really just asking him to tell the truth. All they do is lie, cover things up. When they talk about him, they talk about one court appearance in which the judge said he was in fear of persecution. Doesn't mention the persecution was from another gang, which indicates he's a member of a gang. Doesn't talk about the court appearances when he was found to be a member of Tran de Aragua, a leader of Tran de Aragua. Doesn't talk about the order of exclusion from the United States for being a member of a terrorist gang. All they do is talk about the one thing, and they talk about it in an abbreviated way, so you don't really understand it. It's beyond, I guess, it's beyond the scope of what we'll be able to cover tonight, but it's something we have to cover together. Why do they do this? Why do they do this to good people? And when you look at Caitlin Sinclair, for example, I think the president has her nailed just right.
Caitlin Collins, we don't want to rope in our friend Caitlin Sinclair.
Caitlin Collins. I mean, she's the personification. She even has that look of evil in her face. They just block things out. It doesn't matter that MS-13 chops the heads of little girls off. It doesn't matter that they don't have a right to be here. This is a privilege, and we should exercise it in a way that's the most safe for us, not the most convenient for them. It does make you wonder about the prevalence of evil in this country and what is happening. You know, the one that got me on this, I can't quite find the one that I put in the system, but it's this picture here, and I look at it and it frightens me.
Go to camera one, Stephen.
So I'm just going to hold it so you can show it. I mean, this is like something out of The Exorcist, and then you have these girls that are in love with him, and they justify his killing. How could that happen if evil hasn't really taken over?
Very bizarre. And that's, of course, Taylor Lorenz.
And Taylor, gosh almighty.
Let me see if we can play that. This was just a day ago, and I believe.
But this has to
is real.
frighten you that evil, we're in the battle. We're in a battle like we've never been between good and evil.
Here's a clip from this very bizarre Taylor Lorenz. I thought this was fake at first. This is real.
I feel like, oh my God, right? Like, here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
So she just said how courageous, so going on about how handsome he is and courageous and brave and moral. This man murdered a husband and a father. This man was a father. This guy, Luigi Mangione, executed him in cold blood on the streets of New York City. We hear about what a charming guy he is. Women would love to date a guy like this. And Taylor Lorenz is a young woman going on about that. I mean, this is what I mean. It's disgusting. It's beyond repulsive that we live in a society that would say that is in some ways admirable. Really. And I understand her point about, well, this is America. We talk about murderers. Yeah, but nutbags do that. Nutbags wind up glorifying murderers and assassins.
There's something missing here. And when we pass over it now, and we will, I feel like we haven't done our job. There's something going on here with this elevation and excitement about evil that is different. I think. You may tell me it's not, but I'd like to hear that. And something very wrong. And since it does work its way into the Marxist playbook, I also wonder if it isn't orchestrated. But those are very vague. I haven't had a chance to like, haven't had a chance to pull them out the way I want to, or the way I can in order to prove it to you. Maybe I'll never be able to do it, but there's something going on here. I do believe it is prudent of me to tell you that I think there's something going on here. It's beyond just the usual battle. What Van Hollen did can only be done with a person who has no sense of what evil is. I'm not saying Van Hollen's evil. I think he's part of a generation of silly, useless political types who sell themselves to politics, put on all the right makeup and the hairstyles and then they do all the right stuff, and they become completely phony plastic idiots. And nothing's left of what's right for the country or what's right for yourself, or what obligations do you have to God, or all of that is, how do I get to be governor of Maryland? How do I get to be president?
Right.
And then evil comes in. Somehow evil comes in and it can take over. It sees the playground. It sees how it's got room. Your ambitions. It can take your ambitions further. Just got to be a little more evil. Something like that's going on. I know it's a little foggy and hazy, and I see all of that in that picture right there. Well, we're going to take a short break. Well, I say a prayer, I guess, and we'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
These
This is Rudy Giuliani back with you with America's Mayor Live on X. And we have some breaking news.
That's right, Mayor. The New York Times is reporting that President Trump waved off a planned Israeli strike on Iranian nuclear sites in favor of negotiating a deal with Tehran to limit its nuclear program. This, according to the New York Times tonight. We'll go further here.
I mean, I'm not, as you know, this is an area for many, many years where it would have been perfectly appropriate for Trump to take out their nuclear sites when he was president the first time. Eventually, somebody's going to have to take out their nuclear sites. If you think he can do it by negotiation, is it better than war? Sure. Sure. How much enthusiasm do I have for you can do it by negotiation? Not much. Because they're a bunch of lying, sneaky, horrible, sick, maniacal, homicidal, religiously insane maniacs. And they're going to do everything they can to use this time to screw you up. So I'd have to be at the negotiations if this were a situation where they said, well, we'll let you come in and take out our nuclear facilities. Sure, I'd do that. But if they say we're going to do it and then we'll show you, we got a lot to negotiate then. You know, this is the time to do it. I don't know where we're going to be in 3 or 4 years and who's going to be there. The president's got to realize this is the one and only opportunity to do it. He also has to realize that if he comes out of this with the nuclear facilities gone, but the Ayatollah is still there, he doesn't solve the problems in the Middle East. As long as the Ayatollah is there and the reign of terror exists, you're not going to have peace in the Middle East. And I don't know who's giving him this advice to delay and be so cautious, but they sure as hell don't have the experience that I've had of 50 years of this.
And of course, talks took place Saturday in Oman, and they have a second round of talks. Is that happening? I believe in Paris. Oh, sorry, you're right. Rome, Italy.
I don't understand the use of meeting with them. Time for meeting with them was 30 years ago. They've killed too many of our people. They've lied to us too much. There's at some point at which you're really being played for a fool.
Israel, this according to the New York Times, Israeli officials had recently developed plans to attack nuclear sites in May. They were prepared to carry them out and at times were optimistic that the United States would sign off. The goal of the proposals, according to officials briefed on them, was to set back Tehran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon by a year or more. Almost all of the plans would have required U.S. help, not just to defend Israel from Iranian retaliation, but also to ensure that an Israeli attack was successful, making the U.S. a central part of the attack
Boy,
itself.
wouldn't that be great? That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to eliminate massive evil tyrants from the world who are dedicated to the destruction of our country. Does anybody ever note the fact that at the end of the prayers tonight in Tehran, it'll be death to Israel, death to America? I don't know. I'd like to have that end. I'd feel safer for my children and grandchildren if the regime that says death to America every Friday is gone. And I don't counter anybody else after this to do it. And I don't know who is advising him the opposite. But I really don't know, and I'm being kind here, if they have the experience to understand what they're doing. I haven't been through this for years and years and years. And sometimes the arrogance of having been successful in business or this makes you think you can apply it to something else. And you really can't if you don't know the history. And it's not part of you. You can't really do much if you don't know history. Being a tactician is very important. But more important than that is being a person with deep knowledge and a soul.
The video we're playing while the mayor talks is, of course, an Iranian nuclear
site. To me,
site.
this is the wrong decision. I'm surprised it came out. I'm shocked that it did. It shouldn't have. I wonder how the administration broke down on this. I wonder who was in favor of it, who was against it.
Well, you do have this new, it's a rather, it's a growing part.
And what will happen is, as a result of this, people far more skilled than they are at taking advantage of this will. When they see the breakdowns here, they're not all together. This is going to not bode well for the Trump administration.
But we'll see. The president has said that he wants these talks to happen here. Of course, they're already underway. So maybe, Mayor,
we've been talking a lot.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot. We've been talking for years. Haven't done anything about Iran.
So that's just breaking within the hour here. So we'll follow that closely and let you know.
We'll find out more about it. But my initial reaction to it is, I hope it's wrong. And initially, it sounds like to have rejected it now for May is a terrible mistake. It sends a terrible signal that they got plenty of time to play you. At least say, well, we'll see. Suppose they're jerking you off with the talks. You think that's possible? Would that be consistent with history? Why would you want to tell them now you're going to call it off in May? Why don't you get them ready and say, if the talks don't work, goodbye. It might make the talks work. Ronald Reagan, why don't you come down and give him some wisdom? Well, the whole situation with Beijing is getting heated and heated and heated and working itself out. We're going to have to see, because there are a lot of things that we used to get that we're not getting, a lot of things that they used to get that they're not getting. For example, most of our generic medicines come from China. Now, people need those generic medicines, but it's not that difficult for our pharmaceutical companies to create massive amounts of generics in a short period of time on an emergency basis and not charge anybody anything for it as part of a national emergency. I mean, these generics come from Pfizer and Lilly and all the great companies. They can do them faster than the jerk-offs in China can. You can have this solved in a week. Let's see. I hope that's the expedition with which we're handling that, because that'll cut off one of the Chinese pressure points, generic medicines, which after all is not the most critical one, but still critical. Minerals, that's a little different. We need those minerals. So that means we have to step up our efforts in the other places where we have been looking for them, of which there are many, except it's got to be accelerated. And somebody's got to grab the little oligarch by the back of his pants and tell him it's time for the mineral deal, jackass. You lost your deal. You lost your deal with Putin because of that. Don't lose your deal with me, otherwise you're gone. A cargo handled by ports in China fell precipitously in April 7th through 13th. Now that will have a financial toll on China, and China is suffering financially. They won't admit it, but we'll be able to see it. Exports had been surging from China. All of a sudden, the last 2 days, there haven't been any. 0, 0, 0. That's like what you'd like to pitch. So we're going to have to see. This is going to be a standoff because there are certain things that we need that right now we can only get from China. It's not a lot. Three months to a year could all be regularized, but it depends on where the critical loss is right now and what has to be made up right now. And I'm not sure of that. So that's the game that has to be played as to who's going to come out in the short term ahead or behind. On the big numbers, we have to come out ahead because our economy is so much bigger than theirs and so much stronger. So that if we wean ourselves from Chinese exports and we substitute other places for it, it's going to be harder for them to find markets better than the United States. It's easier for us to find export exceptions to them than it is for them to find somebody else to get things from than us. Does it make sense to you? But there are time periods there and lapses that can take place. And the president has to be very, very good at explaining to people the sacrifices that might be involved. And some of these might just come up and they're somewhat surprising because nobody pays attention to it until it becomes a problem.
Right.
Well, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. That's the
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. no robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
We're back.
Well, the battle with China is on. It's not a trade war. It's a war. It's a Cold War. They want to control the world by 2048, 49. There's no doubt about that. Xi Jinping has written that. He said it. He's planned it. He said it so often. We have to be stupid for ignoring it. We are stupid. And everything he does is geared toward that in a much more disciplined way than we ever react, which puts us at somewhat at a disadvantage. On the other hand, we have many, many more resources. We're much more creative. We have the right side of the argument. And we right now sit in a stronger, although diminishing, military position. So it's a question of whether we can organize ourselves with the moral imperative to realize that we're fighting for the world. And it's important for us to get the world to understand that. It's not just about the United States. China wants to control the countries that hate us. I mean, the prime minister of Spain went to China to suck up to Xi Jinping. What's Spain doing sucking up to China? China controls the world and Spain is gone. Spain. They'll be gone completely. I mean, the guy is a leftist fop. You know, that's what happens in Europe. We got to go look at Europe. Europe is pathetic, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, not Eastern Europe. So this is going to be a very tough time to guide us through. And it's going to require a great deal of moral fiber and a great deal of advocacy, strong advocacy, honest advocacy. You look at the Chinese situation in medicines. I don't know why we haven't gotten much further than we were in 2020. We realized in 2020 that China had too much control over our medicines. And now they still have that much control over our medicines? Well, we did get the delay of a 4-year Chinese administration. And I guess I have to calculate that. But it's time to have a concerted effort to change that within a year, which will involve our pharmaceutical companies stepping up, our allies' pharmaceutical companies stepping up for themselves and for us, and very heavy tariffs on all Chinese medicines. It'd be easy to say, well, just do away with everything Chinese. You can't. There's too much of it. You've got to wean yourself. You don't got a long time. A year may be too ambitious, but I think it's possible. And Trump is always working on Trump time. So a year may not be that crazy. Well, I want to discuss Letitia James.
Oh, baby. We got to find some clips back from a year or two ago.
Can you, since my voice is heading off toward, I don't know where, why don't you give us a little background on my I guess she's not my attorney general anymore because she doesn't live in New York.
That's right. Of course, Letitia James is facing numerous issues at this time. We'll call them issues. She's apparently listed a Virginia house as her primary residence, but neighbors say they've never seen her at this residence. So this is just breaking within the last hour. New York Attorney General Letitia James listed a Virginia.
But she has several times testified it was her primary residence.
That's right. She's listed this Virginia home, which is actually 300 miles from her office in New York City, as her primary residence. The Post can confirm, this is the New York Post, that neighbors said Wednesday they've never actually seen her. The modest 3-bedroom home is now home to a woman and her daughter who moved in just a few months ago, according to people in the neighborhood. Before that, a husband and wife, in quotes, lived at the $240,000 home for about 4 years, said one neighbor who had lived near the property for 18 years. So we'll get into the details here, but let's back out here. What Letitia James is being accused of is mortgage fraud.
No, she's being accused of a couple of things. First of all, buying this home in Maryland, listing it as her primary residence, and therefore getting a major tax break.
Right.
When in fact, at the time that she listed it,
right,
continuously, and every time she relisted it,
right,
she was the Attorney General of New York.
Right.
And therefore could not possibly be a Maryland resident without it being illegal and disqualifying her as Attorney General.
New York Attorney General Letitia James, who infamously declared that, quote, no one is above the law when she was targeting President Trump, was hit with a federal criminal referral for instances of alleged mortgage fraud this on Tuesday, and according to a letter obtained by the New York Post. The FHFA, that's the Federal Housing Finance Agency Director, Bill Pulte, sent the letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, alleging that James had falsified records to get home loans for a property in Virginia that she claimed was her principal residence in 2023. This while she was still serving as New York State Prosecutor. This occurred in late August 2023, weeks before James began her civil fraud trial against the Trump organization for what she claims was the overinflating of values of many of its properties. This ended in a $454 million judgment. Again, there's so much that they've thrown at the president. You forget some of them. Miss James was the sitting Attorney General of New York, and she's required by law, I believe this is right, Mayor, to have her primary residence in the state of New York. So, Mayor, she's either lying or she can't be Attorney General. This is a lose for Miss James.
Stephen and I are going to vote about what she's doing. Here's my vote.
You want to put it on me, Eric.
Would you like to write your vote out, Stephen? Would you like to have Raleigh?
Motion for voice vote.
Motion for a vote.
I'm going to go ahead and vote liar. Go ahead.
Lying. Stevens. Oh, I'm still voting.
Yes.
Look, well, I'm just going to go off of what the mayor has told
mine.
me.
There's mine. Show him mine.
I've been with the mayor for what, 2.5 years now. I'm pretty sure you're batting 1,000 on this. When it comes to a Democrat in the state of New York, whether it's
you never go wrong if you say they're a crook.
yeah, you're batting 1,000.
Never go wrong if you say they're lying or a crook.
You're batting. I mean, we won't go through them all right now, but my goodness, Mayor.
It's like it's almost designed that way.
It's like what? How, almost too good. Almost too good. Batting 1,000. Quote, it appears Miss James' property and mortgage-related misrepresentations may have continued to her recent 2023 Norfolk, Virginia property.
What?
This is in order to secure a lower interest rate and more favorable loan terms. Now, in February 2001...
This is all while she's prosecuting, investigating Trump for these specious, I don't even want to repeat them, ridiculous charges. And my friend and I here are going out taking pictures of the houses,
which the president loved. He loved it.
The houses that show that it's all bullshit.
Isn't that amazing? So she seemed to be undervaluing her property. Maybe she thought she's allowed to undervalue the property where she claimed the president was overvaluing it.
Well, wait. The president couldn't possibly have been overvaluing Mar-a-Lago at 18 million.
Oh, yeah. Remember, they also went after him, the Trump organization, claiming that they
I know. The Trump organization used to put down values, but that was when the bank said they didn't care what values they put down because they would do their own vetting.
Right.
And no bank accused him of putting down a false value, and no bank accused him of losing any money. Hence, no fraud.
Nobody.
From the day I went to law school until today. Maybe that's why I was disbarred. I never understood fraud.
Well, you keep reminding me of that. We have to, that's a different issue, but we're getting that. We're
You
getting
think it was
people on these
unfair that I was disbarred and that she's a member of the bar?
Oh my goodness. Like you said, she should be.
Do you think she's
somebody? Go ahead.
You think she's a better lawyer than I am? Could we have a debate sometime, Fatso?
If no one's calling for her to be disbarred here, Mayor, I've lost any last little bit of respect I had for the Bar Association.
How about a little quiz on the Constitution, her and me?
Right. I don't the more I think about this, it's so absurd.
I'm like twice her age.
It's so absurd. It really is the height of that's like the definition of hypocrisy.
How about she puts down the 5 biggest things she accomplished? I put down the 5 biggest things I accomplished, and you figure out which is better.
Well, she's accomplished nothing. The one thing she was attempting to accomplish, she failed at, right? Which was to take down President Trump. If anything, she helped get him elected to back to the
James she falsified records to get home loans for a property in Virginia, which she called her principal residence in 2023. That's the year she prosecuted him, 2023, for making not even. She didn't prosecute him for what she did. She did worse things than she prosecuted for. She prosecuted him for causing someone else to make a false entry in a business record that would lead to a felony. Okay. So that means he didn't do it himself. Somebody else did it. And it led to another felony. The false statement was that his payment to Cohen to settle the case with a non-disclosure agreement, calling it a legal fee, was not accurate because it was a hush money payment. Now, I would imagine in the history of New York State, if somebody ever wanted to do it, there were 1 million hush money payments described as legal fees. I'll tell you one in Washington that's described that way. Hillary Clinton's payment to Perkins Coie to get the dossier on Trump, the false, phony dossier, $1.1 million listed as legal fees. Wasn't a legal fee. It was a campaign contribution. But she was never prosecuted for that because in fact, even though it was a euphemistic description, it wasn't technically false. He paid it to a lawyer. And very often, unless we want to change this and become much more rigorous about it, which I'd be fine with, you should not be allowed to do that. If you want to pay through a lawyer, you're going to have to describe what it is. But most people pay through a lawyer so they can hide the ultimate purpose of it. So the wife doesn't go crazy because the husband is paying off the girlfriend, which is essentially what we have going on here, right?
Right.
That's a crime. Okay. On the other hand, here, she's just directly stating she's a principal resident of Virginia when she's the Attorney General of the state of New York. I mean, you can't even figure out a rationalization for that. And it happened in 2023. That's just about before she started the civil fraud trial against Trump.
I mean, she must know that this is not. I mean, she's got her hands full with
In
this one.
February of 2001, not too long ago, James also purchased a 5-family dwelling in Brooklyn. I don't know where she has all this money, by the way.
She got it from the cash, from her campaign.
It's Fannie Willis.
Consistently,
sorry, wrong fraudster there. But hey,
there's
maybe
another one you predicted,
maybe
though, Mayor.
we
That's
look into
another
that.
Democrat prosecutor you predicted. There's so many of them.
but wait a second.
Remember
I'm still indicted there.
Oh, so maybe we got to be careful.
I'm still indicted there, and she hasn't gone to jail.
Wait, what's? We got to catch up on some of these cases, right?
I'm still prosecuted in Arizona.
Oh my goodness!
Wait,
I
You're
don't
right.
even know what I did in Arizona.
That's coming up on a year now.
Yeah, I did something in Arizona. I don't know what I did.
You're a Yankees fan. They're still holding that against you in the 2001 World Series.
Look, wasn't it bad enough they beat us in 2001?
2001, yeah. You suffered enough.
Even John McCain felt bad about that.
Yeah, you went out there for that game. Luis Gonzalez, right over Jeter's head.
You know the worst part of this, the consolation I had about Fanny the Hoe was if they convicted me and Trump, we could get a nice little place. You know, they give us like a little. We'd find somebody we could talk to and have a nice little place where we could have nice dinners and lunches, and we could watch golf and
house arrest at Mar-a-Lago.
We could also maybe find a golf course. I once got a client of mine on a golf on a prison that had a golf course right nearby.
Wow!
The guy spent his whole time in prison, being invited by the Marine officers to come play golf with him because he was so good.
Yeah.
That's what happened. That's the little things that good lawyers can do for you.
Right. That's
we had pled guilty. We got a nice deal, and I got him in a great place. And he was a great golfer. He was a scratch golfer. So once the officers heard he was a scratch golfer, he was just a white collar criminal. They didn't give a shit. I mean, everybody in the military industrial complex is a white collar criminal. So they had him come in and play golf with them.
Well, Mayor, we have some more interesting news from about another New York official. And again, this is something else.
Let me go through this 5-family dwelling for a second.
Oh, yeah.
So she bought this 5-family dwelling, but she listed it as only 4 units so she could pay less money. And then she bought another one with her husband, with her father, and she listed him as her husband so she could pay less taxes. Her whole history is a history of false financial documents, which is what she prosecuted Trump for.
Yeah.
Whose documents she did them directly. She prosecuted him for him somehow indirectly having somebody do it, and never even mentioned the felony that's never mind. When is the New York Court of Appeals going to reverse that? Jesus, that's an easy one. They're so crooked in New York. I'm here in Florida, so they can't do anything about it.
They'll try. But so here's this is a time for Letitia James to maybe remember her own words. Let's go to Letitia James.
Stand up and enforce the rule of law. The president of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain.
No one is above the law. That's what I was looking for. She definitely said that too somewhere in there. How about her when she that little selfie video? Oh, we're gonna give him trouble. These people are not serious people. We laugh, but it's like, I mean, you must just
laugh. I mean, she was a disaster during the campaign. She would sit there on the trial and look at him evil, like
absurd.
The evil obese witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we laugh, but it's like very serious. I mean, thank God these people they seem to be so incompetent, Mayor. They can't help themselves. They can't help but to be crooked. So My goodness, imagine if they were, if our enemies were honest and competent.
Well, here that's an interesting theory to pursue. Actually, if you think about, so I'll just pick one. I'll pick January 6th.
Yeah.
So January 6th, I'm in a little different position than everybody else because of the tape that I got. So I got a tape immediately that showed me it was a setup. The Jameson tape, and it showed me that there were Antifa people, a lot of them in there, that it was orchestrated by Pelosi with Hollywood, and that somehow they even orchestrated the shooting of oh my gosh, I should look right here. Get it right here. I have it right here. Here they is, Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt, right there. They orchestrated the shooting of Ashley Babbitt.
Hold that up.
But having said that, I should say I could step. I knew what I knew, and I even turned it over to the U.S. Attorney's Office on the naive belief that he would take murder in the first degree seriously. Wow, was I stupid? I never really completely accepted the magnitude of the immorality of Democrats, and their complete divorce from the rule of law. But I could watch objectively what a good job they had done of cornering him. I mean, they had all of the Democratic Party, 70% of the independents, and pushing 50% of the Republicans against him by the end of his term, right?
Right.
And the narrative, if the narrative had stuck, he'd never been president. But then what happened? They had to say that 4 cops were killed during the day. Turned out no cops were killed during the day. They had to take one cop and give him an actual funeral and have him lie in state in the Capitol, when in fact he died of natural causes the day after. And that came out. And then it turned out that the coroner said he didn't die of anything that happened on that day. He died of something that happened the day after. And that none of the cops died on that day. And then instead of like moving back to just let it lie, they appointed a completely out of control, dishonest, almost like a bunch of criminal committee, the same criminals who had tried to frame him over Ukraine and over Russian collusion, same cast of characters. And they went wild and crazy. This is worse than Vietnam. I mean, worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than September 11th. This is worse than worse than the Civil War. This is worse than. And people are looking at it and they're watching it diminish. And they're watching them exaggerate more. And I could see it. Maybe about, gosh, I'd have to go back and look at the months pretty quick. Maybe about a month into it, I could see they were doing what they often do. Because they're liars, they're not sure of whether their original lie has an impact. So then they keep adding on to the lie, and then the lie gets out of control. They went out of control on that. And they've done that every time. They did it with Russian collusion. They did it with quid pro quo. They did it with January 6th. I mean, they're now they don't even matter. Nobody even pays attention to them.
Right.
I mean, they're like jerks. And I thought the president was terrific with the two California senators
Right.
who said, when he said with the baseball players there, well, there are two here I don't like.
Right.
I mean, these people should be in jail, or at least one of them. I mean,
Right.
the other one is just an appointee. We can't pick on him.
Who's that?
The two California senators.
One of them is.
But one of them is the worst guy in America.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, he does look like the type of guy that got beat up a lot in high school. But I'm not. Look, he deserves all that's coming to him in terms of.
But the other
opposition.
guy, I'm not even sure who he is. He's just an appointee.
Yeah. Is it Padilla still?
Who did?
That would be correct.
Who did?
Nobody hears of the guy, Alex Padilla. The guy. What does he do?
Who did Newscomb appoint?
Did Padilla get appointed? That would have been Alex Padilla.
Alejandro Padilla.
Well, he doesn't fit in that category. So take him out of that category.
I don't even know. Yeah, the guy's quite.
But let's focus on the one true evil one.
Shifty Schiff. Now that guy did some damage to democracy. You want to
fire? Terribly bad guy.
Terrible guy.
It seemed to me even the Los Angeles Dodgers agreed.
Yeah, but somehow he still wins, right? That guy should never have won that. I mean, I don't care if you're a Democrat or what you are, right? Just absurd.
So Harvard is in the short hairs now. So Ted,
yes,
it may require sometime during this. Did we do it last summer? When did we do our Harvard, Columbia?
We've got it. I was just telling a good friend of ours about
more
this.
than a year ago, I think.
I think it was the summer, right? Was it during the school year?
That was maybe it was like in the late spring.
Yeah, let's look this up. Because remember, we also went to Columbia. When were those Columbia protests happening? That would have been the end of the year.
I think Harvard may be winning now. I'll tell you why.
Oh, are you
prepared? There are things
to
to be put on the board here for Harvard. We may have to go up there.
We got to make a board. Yeah. Well, we'll be up there soon.
We got to go up there and hold them to account.
Oh, we might have to go up there Monday.
We'll go up there anytime.
And we got to ask them, who do you think you are going off on Trump the way they are? And they seem to be protecting. It's just absurd. They have a $50 billion endowment.
Yeah,
so
the president of Harvard is refusing to agree to Trump's request the way Columbia is. So number one, we got to give Columbia some points for that, right?
For
at least being willing to try.
Okay, I see. Yes. Yes.
And according to the New York Times, Harvard is their standard bearer.
Really? Shocker, right? Yeah, we're shocked to hear that one.
Yeah, better not be in football.
Yeah. Well, New York Times. Ask your average New York Times reporter what they know about football.
And they're not going to make any changes in their admission based on the allegations of discrimination against Jews. They're just going to keep going the way they're going. So Trump has cut off $2.2 billion.
Good.
And they're going to go make a loan for it.
Oh, from there.
So we should go up there and see what the students think. Why do you want to go there? First of all, would you take a look at the damn courses? Karma and life. What's my gender? I mean, they don't teach anything.
Remedial math. They do now teach that at Harvard.
Remedial math?
They do, because the students, they got away with, they stopped doing standardized tests for admissions.
Remedial arithmetic.
Yeah, so they realized that a lot of their students needed remedial math, high school level math at Harvard.
Please do not bring your calculator. Bring your fingers. Fingers necessary, calculator prohibited.
Yeah, they know gender studies. They're all about that, but they don't know long division or multiplication.
Well, they don't know gender either. Remember, what's a woman? I don't know.
Well, modern gender studies, I guess. They know crazy stuff.
According to my hero, Michael Goodwin, the Democrats have finally found the leader of their resistance to President Trump. the gray lady has appointed Harvard to do the job. Oh, good old Harvard. Harvard and its defenders act as if anti-Semitic campus rallies are a civil right for the school instead of a violation of Jewish students' civil rights. So it's a civil right to run around the school saying, kill Jews.
Right.
Right? From the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. But they don't know that. So it's from the ocean to the sea, or the sea to the ocean, or the lake to the village, or the Bupakapasupa. They wouldn't know because no one teaches them Middle Eastern history, except some kind of a crazy maniac Palestinian nut who was trained to kill Jews at 2, who teaches it by yelling and screaming and walking around making dances. So the White House has frozen $2.2 billion. It canceled a $60 million contract. And the president is looking into ending their tax-exempt status. Harvard gets roughly about $9 billion a year from Washington, and right now it's getting, it looks like, nothing. Well, they're going to be the front of the movement. They also, I think, are going to allow men in women's sports, which actually is good for Harvard because they do so poorly in men's sports. Let's see how they can do in playing in women's sports, right, Ted?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they really are a pathetic football team. Silly. They look like a bunch of little gooses running around. They're a silly basketball team.
Back in the day, though, those were the top schools.
Oh, I don't know about back in the day. Who cares about the day? Maybe they should play with girls. I was thinking of the guy, I've forgotten who it is. I was thinking of the guy who said, he was sitting there and he was saying, I think this is all made up. I don't think there are any difference in the strength or physical ability of men and women. I think they're equal. I wish I was there just to say, hey, sissy boy, speak for yourself.
Right.
This is true. Harvard may need to have men in women's sports so they can win something.
Right. Right.
They're going to win swimming against Michigan State?
No way.
I don't know how Michigan State's swim team's doing.
I can tell you they wouldn't win swimming against Mountain College. We'd beat the shit out of it because we have men. We'd also beat them at track. Actually, we do anyway.
Nuts. Just nuts. Right? Makes you wonder.
You know, this is very bad too because we have to defend ourselves. And manly values are important to defending yourself.
Right.
They're not just like fun, and all this sex thing, and everybody talks about sex. And we have these reality shows about what a waste of time those are.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
The real wives of this one and the real wives of that one,
Right.
and they're not the real wives of anybody. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're not real wives.
Shakespeare wrote the one play about it you should read, The Wives of Windsor, and that's it.
Yeah, good enough.
China trade war classifies the China trade war updated. Trump classifies Panda Express as a domestic terrorist organization.
Hold that up. Now, does that mean we can no longer go?
I guess.
Which is probably best for our health, honestly.
I got to tell you what.
Sugar chicken.
It was the last Chinese food I liked. You know, I can't stand the Chinese food. Please, I probably shouldn't say it, right?
No, you can say it. You don't like the Chinese food down here in South Florida.
Every time you bring me Chinese food, it looks like mush mush.
Yeah. What's wrong with saying that? Mayor, you're not one to mince words here.
You have no idea how much I love Chinese. I used to eat it every Sunday night with my Jewish friends. We'd have like a whole little thing. We'd get together with Howard, and we'd get together at a great restaurant, Shun Li, and we'd have fabulous Chinese.
Christmas.
Now, I order Chinese food. It's like,
look, you were a little spoiled, right? Spending a majority of your life in New York City. And you have the best food. I mean, the best food in the world, right?
Yeah, I'm also against very few Chinese restaurants. This is an Italian prejudice. Know how to make noodles or pasta.
The mayor will not have noodles made by anyone outside of Italy.
I'm sorry. Marco Polo brought them to Italy. Italy perfected them. They should have stopped. China should have stopped with the noodle shit.
You're not a fan
Once
of that.
Marco Polo brought it over to Italy, Italy perfected pasta. Now you tell me anybody that does pasta better than Italy, and I will not talk to you.
Yeah, that's right, Mayor. I mean, it's interesting. Panda Express. It's
Panda Express.
It's good.
I can't go against what was said here. I mean, this is a matter of politics, but in terms of quality, their quality was good.
No, okay, Stephen here. I disagree with that. Panda Express is contributing to our rise in diabetes and our general malhealth in this country.
You can eat healthy at Panda Express. You can get chicken. I guess we'd have to ask RFK, right?
Sugar chicken.
RFK would think all of it was crazy, right?
Right.
Does he eat Chinese food?
He probably eats real hot pot, like kind of what you're talking about, like some real Chinese food.
Yeah. What is it like in China as opposed to what I eat here?
Wow.
You had actual Chinese food.
I had Chinese meal at a wedding with Bill Clinton. And we had, first of all, we had the illegal shark soup.
Shark fin soup.
Oh.
Is it good?
Huh. Is it good? No wonder they pay like $600 for one little bowl of soup.
What?
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's outlawed in California now. It's not just good, it's fabulous.
Wonder what makes it, sometimes
when the Chinese want to cook like normal people cook, like one meal for people, they're fabulous. I have a very good friend who's Chinese, and I used to go to his house, and he had a Chinese cook, and he would make a meal for the four of us. And you've never had a meal if you didn't have a meal cooked, not in a Chinese restaurant, I knew it, but by a Chinese cook for four people. Wow. It's a great culture. And what the communists have done to it is horrible. And that's why you should go to Shenyang. We have to go to Shenyang. We have to go to Shenyang and see the beauty of China and what they've done to it, these miserable atheistic
communists.
Here's Gretchen Whitmer.
Oh, there's our friend.
She's going to run, trying to get the Muslim vote in Dearborn with that one there. There she is. Muslim vote for her.
And this references her recent time in the Oval Office where she
put her thing over.
I can't believe that. I still can't believe
she's
that's
like
real.
A high school girl, and that's like how she lives her life.
Look at that. Look at that picture. That will come back to haunt her. You mark our words on that one. But I will say she also has overperformed. I never thought she'd be governor. Well, actually, there was a time when I did. We won't beat up on our 2018 Republican nominee for governor of Michigan anymore.
She got lucky too with the abortion stuff.
2018, yeah. She really did. Whitmer is overrated. I love that. That's fun. What does it say?
The end.
Faces her political future. That's gonna hurt. Oh, Gretchen.
Nobody likes political cartoons anymore. but I was I love.
I love political cartoons.
I also used to know all the great cartoonists.
There's one good one now, Ben Garrison.
Yeah,
I know that one.
And the local shops, that's where local news, they still make funny cartoons about the local, figures in there.
But a lot of them try to go modern with them, and you got to go traditional with the cartoons. I think.
No, anime.
What do you mean?
I mean, you can't do like these, anime or mime or.
Oh,
you got to do this.
The old school, I see yours. Yeah, I agree. That is interesting. Because nothing like a good political cartoon, right, to get a message across.
Humor does it.
So the U.S. has received, if this article is correct, and I have no reason to believe it isn't, it's received 70, don't know if it's received 75 or 85 submissions of offers on tariffs. But in any event, let's say 75, of which 15 are under active consideration. The others are on hold. And the 15 are probably going to play out in the next couple of days. They include India, Japan, and Vietnam.
Good people.
So, they don't include China. They don't include China. I'm sorry. No China. Gary Shapley was the witness who testified along with his partner against Biden and said that a lot of money went into Joe Biden's coffers and that there was a fix of the Internal Revenue case. And he was destroyed within the IRS. He is now the acting director of the Internal Revenue Service. President Trump, thank you.
Wasn't that awesome?
Thank you. This is an American hero.
Right.
This is an American hero. This guy, when things weren't sure, was there. And he was there for the same reason I was, and Ted and Stephen and all of us who supported you.
Oh, we were there. We were there. I was there in those rooms, Mayor. After the 2020 election, you came over to that campaign office.
Oh, we knew what happened. He knew what happened.
Walked right in and...
Boy, they tried to destroy this man. He's now the acting director of the IRS, which means when the new director comes in, he'll have a very, very important position. And we can be very, very sure that we'll be treated fairly. That's all we want, right?
Right. Well, Mayor, we have some more news breaking tonight. This is exclusive from the New York Post. White House sources say New York Governor Kathy Hochul threatened President Trump, saying that I control the judges during a February meeting in the Oval Office. Of course, Kathy Hochul
what does that mean? She controls the judges. I mean, that's true. That's been the Democratic. That's been the situation I've been talking about for 175 years. Thank you, Hochul Pochul, for admitting it.
This is another thing you've been saying to me since I've been working with you.
All the judges under the Democrats in New York are crooked.
As the New York appellate panel decides President Donald Trump's appeal of a $480 million fraud penalty, Governor Hochul stands accused of using her power over state judges to implicitly threaten the president. White House sources claim Hochul told President Trump, quote, I control the judges during a February meeting in the Oval Office to discuss policy issues such as Manhattan congestion tax. This is when, boy, we sure could have used Nixon. Hochul emphatically denies making the statement. You get the Nixon reference, right? With the tapes. He taped the Oval Office, right?
It's recorded. If it is, we go right to an extortion trial.
The president, sources said, perceived the conversation as an implicit threat relating to his appeal against a civil fraud ruling in February by state Supreme Court Judge Arthur Engoron, who at the time ordered Trump to pay President Trump $364 million for allegedly inflating his net worth. A legal source familiar with the Oval Office discussion says the governor asked the president to drop his opposition to the $9 congestion tax she had imposed. She also asked him to abandon a gas pipeline he favors and to provide federal funding for wind projects and an upgrade of Penn Station. Quote, Hochul is making demands while keeping the appeal hanging over his head.
Yeah,
Quote, it
the
feels
appeal's
like
been over a year now.
extortion and blackmail.
The appeal. I've almost forgotten about it. The appeal was about over a year ago. Everything indicated they were going to reverse it.
Right.
They were extraordinarily skeptical, the judges I'm talking about. And what has happened to it?
Right. Well, they're
and if she's in control of it, then they should all just head for jail. Her and all the judges.
What are the odds that this was taped?
Probably not. Man, it would blow up the most crooked court system in America.
If that was on tape?
The Democratic court system in New York is the most crooked court system in America. It's the most crooked group of unbelievably aggressive Democratic politicians and unbelievably immoral judges.
It is wild.
Man, this would crack right through it.
Yeah, I really hope that.
I could go into details about how she rearranged the Court of Appeals to do all the redistricting. Nobody pays attention. Nobody pays attention to me. Nobody pays attention to it. The New York court system is, I say New York, I've got to exclude upstate New York and got to talk about Albany, New York City. Thoroughly 100% corrupt. And she absolutely said that. She controls them. And she does. And tomorrow night, I'm going to show you how she manipulated the Court of Appeals in order to get redistricting so they could get 2 more members back in Congress. She removed a judge. She actually had judges volunteer to sit for judges who were recused. I never heard of that. I don't know why that opinion isn't challenged as illegal. It would be as if Justice Alito recused himself, and they appointed a left-wing judge from California to replace him. The case would be totally invalid. They do things to our courts that are disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. Ted, you got another one. You look like you're.
We can't play this one. We just got a random. Someone sent me this. It's a lady repeatedly shouting the N-word. So unfortunately, no, I'm not going there. But we still have unfortunately bad people out there that
you tell her to go to hell.
Right. But another busy news day, and Mayor, I gotta hand it to the Trump administration. They really made this senator, which they didn't really need to do him any help, but they made him look like a real big bozo, right? They waited till he was down there before they released this additional information.
It's 9:29, almost 9:30.
Right.
I was debating whether to cover this or not, but I think I'm willing to cover it.
Okay.
What do we got?
Okay.
What do we got? Okay.
There's a new betting thing that's been set up, and it's supposedly. I don't know. It's supposedly because of the Belmont Stakes, but we haven't even had the Kentucky Derby yet, right?
Oh, right.
Okay. So it's called, it was organized by Sperm Racing, a group of young moguls and millionaires who raised more than $1 million to back this veritable Kentucky Derby of creative juices. And it takes place on April 25th. At the Hollywood Palladium in front of thousands of spectators.
What is this?
I'm going to read it to you. It's Ben Cost in the Post. 2 competitors, 2 samples, 1 microscopic finish line. Declared Sperm Racing boss Eric Zhu in his race manifesto document. The teen tech entrepreneur who previously founded private market analysis software Aviato dreamed up the daring event alongside Nick Small, head of business management consulting firm Stealth. Okay? The goal isn't to elicit sophomoric giggles, but instead to turn health into competition and make male fertility something people actually want to talk about. In accordance, the mini marathon will see 2 spermatozoa, which measure 0.005 millimeters long, race 20 centimeters along a microscopic racetrack modeled after the female reproductive system with chemical signals, fluid dynamics, and synchronized starts. Whichever one crosses the finish line first, as verified by advanced imaging, will be declared the winner. How fast will the winner finish? It's yet unclear. But based on Spurt's real-life speed, the race could be over in a flash or last well over an hour.
Well,
We must be really bored.
male fertility is a big deal.
But we got to be really bored to do this kind of thing. I mean, I can understand everything done for male fertility. I'd be more than 100% in favor of it. But tell me how this helps male fertility to have a race between 2 sperms.
Right, Mayor. I really think
This is like jerky time, right?
Slow time of the year.
Well, and I don't know what sports, if there's a lot of action going on, but I bet the betting markets will be.
But we're going to pay attention to this to see if it gets any attention.
Yeah, maybe I stopped betting when I started working with the mayor. Not that I ever was a big bettor.
Well, I'm not going to bet on it. I don't bet on horses anymore. Why would I bet on sperm?
For men's
That's a good
fertility
point.
awareness.
I'd have to know who. I would have to know who it came from.
Yeah.
No, my gosh,
we're going all in here.
Well, come on, right?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to. We have to have a diagram
Look
of
at that.
some sort of
There are
visual.
some of these people I watch on television. I wouldn't bet on their sperm in a minute.
Definitely not Chris Van Hollen.
Oh,
if
it
even comes out.
That guy, I cannot get over that. That was an SNL skit that I watched.
I wonder what's going to happen when he meets his friend.
Yeah, that's what I was like. What is he going to do? What is his plan? He's going to bring him back, invite him to his home?
Get married.
Well, now that we've gone into the depths.
Oh, we're coming back with a diagram. I got to see how this is all going to lay out, like the layout of this competition. How are they going to?
And we are going to we're going to remind you that despite the fact that I unfortunately brought up this subject, this is a very, very holy week in which we are remembering the passion of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, which is our only hope, real hope. So spend time thinking about it. Read some of the Gospels. Look at some of the great movies that have been done about the Passion. And how about the Passion? Mel Gibson's Passion. Nothing much better than that. I mean, I love The Chosen, the new one. And I love the one on Newsmax this weekend, which was about a 40-year-old Jesus of Nazareth. Fabulous. Fabulous. Great actors, all Hollywood great actors playing the roles of a lifetime. It's worth reminding yourself of where you come from, because that's where you come from. It reminds you, brings you back to your roots. This is unfortunately what some of our enemies don't have. They don't have moral roots. But we've got to deal with them, despite the fact that they don't have moral roots. We've got to stand up to them and show them the wisdom of human dignity and human life. Well, let's pray for the people in Israel and the people in Ukraine, seemingly a bit ignored right now. A little more urgency there would just feel better. It would be better, not just feel better. Let's pray for the people of Iran. There's no answer to this other than to get rid of the Ayatollah. Not just the nuclear weapons, but the reign of terror. And of course, let's pray for the president that he makes all the wise and right decisions, which he has been. And give him the strength to endure, and all his people. So we'll be back tomorrow at 7 on,
Lindell TV as well. And X.
on X and Lindell TV. And then we'll be back at 8 on X.
Facebook,
And who knows?
YouTube, Rumble,
Who knows?
Twitch.
Who knows what we'll get into?
Instagram.
Because we're now really loose.
That's right.
God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze.